That's old school.
And welcome back, everybody, to our live coverage here at Vatican. And we are pleased to bring in our next guest. Tom Williams teaches theology here in Rome, and he has been covering, this story very, very closely. Well, good to see you. And I know this is home base for you, but for a lot of us, we're witnessing history, and it is incredible to see the most diverse and largest conclave that we will see in the coming few days after the funeral.
Well, Pope Francis has had a huge impact on Catholics around the world and on politics and on really the discussion, the global discussion on so many issues, the ones that he's pushed, like climate change so much. He's talked about immigration, and he hasn't been afraid to get in the face of politicians. Very ironic, isn't it, that J.D. Vance was one of the last people to see him alive, having a meeting with him the day before he died. Nobody expected that. So the Pope keeps coming up with surprises.
I covered the conclave that came out with Pope Benedict. And, a lot of people are going down this line saying, well, since Pope Francis has selected a lot of these cardinals, that maybe they'll be following in his suit. But I'm not so sure you can say that, because Pope John Paul II and Pope Benedict also hand-selected a lot of the cardinals, and we got Francis. So where are you at with some of the names? We'll put up some of the short list here. It just seems too hard to come with any certainty this time around.
Well, it's a very diverse group. Let's start with that. They're from all over the world. Many of them don't know each other. This next week, they're going to be scrambling to get together to place faces to names, trying to understand where each is coming from. And also, no matter how much you try to create a cardinalate college in your image, you're dealing with human beings that they don't even break down into the same categories we often use of left and right. They might be conservative in one issue and very liberal in another issue, or progressively, pastorally progressive and very doctrinally conservative. So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting thing, even for the cardinals themselves. I think a lot of them are coming here with open minds. They don't know who they're going to be voting for and who the candidates are even going to be.
And of course, today is a day where it's the first day people have been able to come and gather as the Pope lies in state, and there'll be 3 days. And we know overnight people will be camping out, even when St. Peter's Basilica closes its doors at midnight, Tom. So the legacy and there is time to see where it shakes out. But I've also heard some people who cover, the Pope every day, and they said there were a lot of things that were just breaking from tradition, where while you want to honor his legacy, there were some things that went down that people were really still surprised by, since it was such a departure. It's hard to honor the legacy and not mention those.
That's absolutely true. And I think even among the cardinals that we would call the more progressive in the lot, I think a lot are still uncomfortable with how far Francis went in certain areas. And I think that there's a sense of confusion, a little bit of chaos. And I think on everyone's mind is the idea, can we get things kind of on a good, firm track? And that, independent of where you happen to lean politically, I think that's really top on their minds.
The other thing, too, is as they enter in and they have this sacred decision and they're asked to be guided by the Holy Spirit, these are challenging political times. We know that there are conflicts around the world, in Israel and Gaza, Ukraine and Russia. President Trump is trying to make some peace deals. He's also coming here, and there was no, we all know the Pope was very critical of President Trump. So in a time where peace is also being talked about in the news, it seems like faith is such an important part of what is happening, whether or not people are Catholic or not. There's an immense interest in what's happening here at the Vatican in the next few weeks.
That is absolutely true. And this decision, they all know how weighty it is and how important it is. And I think that they're going to be looking at different categories, like, do we want an older Pope or a younger Pope, a more traditional caretaker Pope to kind of transition us away from this very active, very groundbreaking Pope?
Do you think the world leaders showing up to kind of give to the weightiness of what's happening here as well?
Well, absolutely. I think they've already been signing up. We know who's coming, lots of heads of state. It's an immense global phenomenon when a Pope dies, and then the election of a new one. And I think that, yes, and a lot of these baby cardinals, the ones that have only been cardinals for 2 or 3 years, and often from the third world, they're going to be coming in, and they will be very daunted with the gravity of this decision and the fact that they are really at the center of the world at this moment.
As are we tonight. Tom Williams, thank you so much for joining us today here at St. Peter's. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Bianca.
And we'll